listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Radio Show, only on Financial News and Talk. Now live in studio, your host, local and national real estate expert and consumer advocate, Ron Siegel.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take, how your family or business can benefit from current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. And let me remind you, if you ever have any home or finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you. You can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are no operators standing by. I am it. Well, I do have a great team when it...
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
While I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan or plan to save you money, I personally work with you, even if you don't have any needs today. Save this number in your phone for future reference, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, of course, we are celebrating today. We celebrate every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Got to check the celebration. You know, we're on the right side of the sidewalk. That's the celebration number one. I do have this one. This one is for my son. We're celebrating for him today. International Left-Handers Day. Anyone with us that's a left-hander today? We are watching those. I don't know about this one. Prosecco Day? Something I can't go too wrong, but Prosecco is not one of my favorites. Filet mignon, I like that one. We can celebrate that as well. Talk about celery. We might need some serious Prosecco today if we watch the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Ironically enough, we were down over 100 points early this morning. And I've shared this with you many, many times. The market will always, always, always overreact. It does it all the time. The market down over 100 points this morning. Then we find out that there are some no problem with the trade issues going on. And now the market is up, or they're extending some of the trade. But it's a fascinating story when you've been in the import-export business, because they come up and they say, well, we're going to extend the tariff deadline. Okay, so we're extending the tariff deadline. Do you think that's going to have a whole lot of effect on anybody? Do you think Target, do you think Walmart, do you think any of the major retailers don't already have their holiday goods on order? Do you think most of it's not already in stock in the U.S. at some distribution facility? But the markets like it, so it went from down about 100 early on in the market trading session to now we're up 418 points. Yeah, 418 points up. The S&P 500 up 48 points. NASDAQ up 157 points. Yeah, all of that, that's enough. We can stop ringing the register right now because, again, don't forget, it is overreacting. On the downside, it overreacts. On the upside, it overreacts. And if you've got the stomach to deal with it, what you're doing is, as soon as the market goes up, you start buying contrary items. When the market goes down, you buy the cyclical items. It all works out. Right now, we're looking oil. Now, that's another fascinating story because if it wasn't for all of the fracking and the energy independence we've got in the U.S., oil, we'd be seeing a lot of turmoil in oil right now with everything that's going on in the world. But right now we see that oil is up $2. I got to find the number again. $2.26 a barrel right now. Oil up $2.26 a barrel. National average of a gallon of gasoline, 264.3, 361 here in the state of confusion is our average. So that's, we're still about $1 a gallon higher than the rest of the country. If you need cheap gas, you got to go over to Mississippi. They're at 228. But I am searching Louisiana. They're at 226.7. And I'm going to go just as a public service to the listeners of Ron Siegel Radio. End of the year, I am going to go to Hawaii and just make sure that they are at $3.65.5 as the average for a gallon of gasoline in Hawaii. I'll go and check it out. I will report back. But let's see what that's doing to the interest rate world. The U.S. 10-year Treasury up ever so slightly, 1.68. I'm still telling you we're going down to 128 to 132. I told you at 224 we were heading southbound, and we have. Germany, they're now at a negative 0.6 interest rate, negative 0.6 on their 10-year. Japan is negative 0.234. I better say that correctly. Otherwise, we'll have some individuals that might not be too happy with us. And I saw this fascinating story, and I've seen a lot of things in real estate. I've been involved in the real estate market for way too long. But I'm not going to go exactly how long I've been in the real estate market, but I've never, ever seen this one. Are you ready for this? And Lynda Eisenmann just walked in. Welcome.
Thank you, Ron.
So maybe, I'm not sure if you've seen this one, Lynda. You've been in the industry maybe a little bit longer than me.
Okay.
We're going to chat and see here. How about a 30-year fixed rate mortgage at negative 0.5%? So you can borrow money and you don't have to pay it all back.
Sounds good to me. Sounds too good to be true.
Yeah. Well, you know something, unfortunately, it's in Denmark, but
okay.
You know, I've never seen that one, but that's the way it is right now in Denmark. You can borrow money for 30 years and you don't have to pay all of it back. That's the way the market is there in Denmark. Now, I'm just going to throw that out there, that it's not a healthy environment, right? Basically, what that's telling you is that the industry is not good. They're short on money, right? They need to get something going to do with their funds. They're worried about the liquidity. They want to have safety. The banks might not be able to hold on to the money, so they put it into real estate there, trying to get some sort of economic development. Wait a second. Now let's think about that concept for a minute. You're taking and you're borrowing the money from the bank for 30 years. The bank is paying that money. How's that economic development? Well, we've chatted about this many, many times, and a lot of folks don't understand this part of the process, that whenever a house is sold, there's about a 1.8 multiplier effect, 1.7, 1.8 multiplier effect. And you might look at me kind of crazy and say, what the heck is a 1.8 multiplier effect? Well, that's the economic impact of the sale of a house. When you sell a house, it's not just the sale of that property. So if you sell a $100,000 house, and I know that's not California, but a $100,000 house, and I use a number for easy ease, right? Because you can probably do a $500,000 house, so just multiply by 5. I'm a little slow, so I don't do that. Right, but a $100,000 house means there's a $101,800 economic impact to that, right? So you got to figure those numbers in. I might have even done that one wrong. But here's the issue: is you've got commissions in there, you've got title, you've got escrow, you've got home repairs, you've got movers, you've got new furniture, you've got home renovations, you've got hardscape, landscape. All of that stuff goes into effect when a house is sold. So think about that concept. That's why they're doing it in Denmark. They want to spur the economy. Do you remember, and I know I do, I'm sure Lynda does as well, but back at the time of the Great Recession, there was actually a $8,000 incentive for people to buy houses. Right? Why was that? Well, you know, you get the people that are the politicians that don't want to understand this or don't understand it. The media doesn't explain it very well. But when you get an $8,000 incentive to buy a house, that actually costs the government absolutely nothing, because of all of the tax ramifications that go when houses aren't selling. They're selling right now, so we don't need it. But when houses are not selling and you get that kind of a benefit going on, well, all of a sudden you get some real good stuff, because $8,000, the tax rate, I think when we did the numbers way back then, that the economic impact of that $8,000 tax credit just to the federal government, I'm not talking about all the other resources and all the other opportunities, but the federal government collected about $17,000 extra in income tax just because of that tax credit. So you might say, well, why don't they do that more frequently? Well, it's the government. You don't expect logic to go with the government, do you? Right? That's not the idea. They don't do that kind of thing from a logical standpoint, so that's why you're not seeing that more widespread, but that's the issue. Hey, how about this story? If you are a Chase Bank customer, they are going to wipe out all of the outstanding debt for specific customers who have two of its credit cards, Amazon and Marriott. Okay, don't get too excited yet. You have to be a Canadian customer. So why would they be doing something like that? Well, apparently they want out of the Canadian market. So getting out of the Canadian market is you got to shut it down somehow. Well, they have all these debts out there still outstanding. They've decided, well, it's cheaper for us to say, don't pay us back than to worry about staying in business in Canada. So if you are a Canadian client, if you've got some of that debt, good for you. Most of us still have to pay the bills. Sorry. You are listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets. When we come back, I thought this would be a great topic to chat with Lynda Eisenmann about. 5 real estate reality TV myths. We're going to explain them. How about that one? I know a lot of people like watching these reality TV shows, and I find them fascinating just because I realize the entertainment value of them, that they're not legitimate. I don't know how many people can buy a house and sell the house within a 30-minute segment as well as getting it all fixed up. It just doesn't work that way. And then I watch some of the shows and they have the same exact mystery every show. But we're going to talk about that when we come back. Should you combine finances after marriage? Charged off debt as bad debt. What does that mean to you? All that and more. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. Connect with us, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio, and on Twitter at Ron Siegel. Stay tuned. We will be back in just a few.
Are you earning a safe, secure 10+% return on your investment? Is your credit score over 800? Are you living in the home of your dreams or simply where you think you can afford? If the answer to any of these questions is no, what are you doing about it? Text ATP to 79564. Complete a 3-minute complimentary survey and the area trusted professionals of Ron Siegel Radio will reach out to you to develop a success strategy for you. Again, all you need to do is text ATP to 79564.
Did you know that banks and credit bureaus are rewarded financially if you have bad credit? And the worse your credit score is, the more money they can make off of you? How does that make you feel, knowing that banks are getting rich off of your hard-earned money? How does it make you feel, knowing that if a bank or a credit bureau makes a mistake on your credit report, they benefit from it and it hurts you? The Fair Credit Report Act of 1971 requires banks and credit bureaus to report only accurate information, and nearly 100% of all credit reports are inaccurate. If you're sick and tired of being broke and tired of being robbed by the banks, you owe it to yourself and to your family to call Rondi. Rondi is a FICO-certified credit professional and has helped thousands of people just like you get out of debt and establish great credit. Rondi's number is 855-608-1990. Again, that's 855-608-1990. Or visit creditsanitizer.com. Again, that website is creditsanitizer.com.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 018694452.
Are you a veteran, police officer, firefighter, doctor, nurse, or teacher? If so, you qualify as one of Ron Siegel's VIP heroes, and we have rewards up to $5,000 or $10,000 when you buy, sell, or refinance a home with one of the Ron Siegel radio partners. As one of the heroes, real estate agents will rebate part of their commission. Lending partners will give a credit at closing. The title company has special published rates, and many other service providers have incentives too. All you need to do is call Ron Siegel Radio at 1-800-306-1990. That's 1-800-306-1990. or visit VIPHeroProgram.com. Just think about what you will do with all the rebates and incentives from the partners of Ron Siegel Radio. Just call us at 800-306-1990 so we can show you our appreciation for your service.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Well, welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio within every Whoa! Earth to right. Give me 1 second. The microphones are having a little fun with me today. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are no operators standing by. In the Mortgage Minute today, being brought to you by our friends over at Gold Star Mortgage. When you're ready for that next mortgage, first mortgage, how about the move up, move down? All of them. Gold Star has the programs and the products for you. Let's check what the markets are doing right now. If I can get all of my goodies in order, the Dow Jones Industrial Average still hanging right about 448 points up. We like when it's up, although we also make money when it's down. Just throw that out there. If you're trading, that's the way it should be. NASDAQ is up 162 points. We can get a little excited on that one as well. But let's look at the S&P 500 up 47.89. U.S. 10-year Treasury now up 4 basis points at 1.68 is the yield there. And the mortgage-backed securities, they are down 11 basis points. Now, I had all of this written up as to the whys of what we were seeing this morning. And when I got up early today, well, the Dow Jones was down about 100 points. The NASDAQ was down about 50 points. Mortgage-backed securities were down. And all of a sudden, you look at these things, and just as quickly as that, we spoke about this yesterday. It is fascinating that we now live in the times of the tweet, right? So one tweet can change the entire market. I don't know whether this one came out as a tweet today or not, but the market did turn around on the news that there are some discussions going on in the trade talks, progress in the trade talks. So everything that I wrote up to share with you this morning, we could pretty much throw it out, other than the fact that we did get the inflation numbers this morning, and it's showing a little bit of mild inflation. About 2.8% was the CPI this morning, so that's not a real major number. So we're looking at that one. That's a consumer. There's the numbers I had exactly for you. Consumer Price Index measures inflation on the consumer level, showed that overall inflation increased in July. Headline reading was up 0.3% for the month, and increased from 1.6 to 1.8 year over year. Now, just remember when I talk about these year over year numbers at 1.6 to 1.8, that is fairly normal. Do you see any tariff of 10% being added into that? No, I didn't either. So just remember the way those numbers are right there. So it's not a major issue. Again, the markets will always overreact. NFIB Chief Economist Bill Dunkelberg said, contrary to negative about impending economic doom, the small business sector remains exceptional. This month's index is a confirmation that small business owners remain very optimistic about the economy, but are being hamstrung by not finding the workers they need. A shortage of employees, that's a big issue. And that's good, because we're finding people that want to work, can work. You don't want to work, you're not going to work. And the more the federal government stops giving money to people who can work, we need that safety net. But don't give money away to the people that can be out there working while the rest of us, they sit on the couch while the rest of us work. That's just the issue right there. That's the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by our friends at Gold Star Mortgage. Give me a call, 800-306-1990, if you're thinking about buying, selling, refinancing. And I highly encourage you to refinance the right way. Don't just look at the interest rate. That will get you in trouble, I promise. It'll cost you about $3,000 if you just look at the interest rate. That's the issue right there. So let's watch what you're doing right there. Again, Gold Star Mortgage, our friends in the mortgage industry. Saw this article and I thought that it would be fun to chat about. There's so much seriousness in real estate, and it should be serious, right? I mean, it's a major investment, it's a major purchase. But I don't know if you've been watching HGTV, Property Brothers, Fixer Upper, Love It or List It, and there's about 75 other shows right now in the reality TV world. And I find them fascinating to watch just because I shouldn't say find them fascinating. I find them humorous to watch. I don't find them fascinating. My wife likes watching them, and I just sit there and laugh because some of the things that come up, you just know that if you've got any sense of logic, you realize it can't be true. Right here, we're in Southern California. Orange County, I think I looked recently, Lynda, median home price about $830,000, some right in there.
Yes, in that range.
Right? Just give or take a little bit. Okay, and here's myth number 1. Buyers look at 3 homes and decide to purchase one of them. Do you have any clue? I mean, I have no clue. I don't show homes, so I wouldn't know, but I issue pre-approval letters, and I just had one in Bakersfield that took 7 offers to get one accepted. And I don't know how many houses you have to look at before you make the first offer, right?
Well, I think it depends upon the individual buyers, of course, and their sense of urgency, because people typically start looking at a minimum of 6 months in advance.
6 months?
That's a minimum.
Okay.
And actually, people typically view homes online now, and they might do that for a couple of years before they're even ready to go over the threshold, so to speak.
Yeah, before you're ready to even step foot. You haven't even connected with a real estate professional to start looking at them. So here's the numbers that they came in the report. There may be buyers who fall in love and buy the first home they see, but according to the National Association of Realtors, the average home buyer tours 10 homes as part of their search.
I would believe that.
So then, I'm looking. You have to parse words sometimes. Tours 10 homes, so that doesn't account for what you were sharing a minute ago. How many homes they've looked at online?
They're probably looking at 10 times those numbers online. They're probably looking at hundreds of homes over a period of time.
Sure.
Because people typically start looking anywhere from a year, occasionally 2 years in advance, but about 6 months, I would say, would probably be about average for the typical consumer in Southern California.
And with as easy as it is right now, when you're looking at homes online, you can look at 4 or 5 homes, while you're watching a commercial.
Sure.
Right? So when you do that, just say once a week for 6 months, right? That's about 100 homes, 108 homes. Right? I mean, it's...
I think a real buyers who are looking in earnest, if they're serious, they're going to be looking at homes every single day. I mean,
right.
I get people who call me about a property before I've even had an opportunity to see it, before I've even seen it online. So I have buyers that the minute something pops up, because people sign up for all these different sites out there when
Sure. something
something new comes on the market. Typically, the consumers are going to get it as quick as the realtors are, if not sooner.
Yeah, exactly, because that's I'm a believer, Lynda, and I'll ask you this one. I don't believe that the consumer really needs a realtor to find the home. It's what happens between the time you find it until the close of escrow is where you really need that professional guidance.
I would totally agree with you. Finding the home at one time was the realtor's job, so to speak.
Right.
But there are those of us who are actually in real estate prior to the internet. And at that time, people used to call us off of a yard sign, for example. They'd
Sure.
see a sign in a front yard, they'd want more information on it, they'd want to see it. That's how, if they weren't working with a realtor directly, that's how they would find out properties being available. Literally driving through the neighborhood and seeing a sign in the front yard.
It's interesting that you say that, because I was chatting with somebody just the other day, relatively young realtor, and I forgot how it came up, and I asked them if they knew the origins of the term pocket listing. And they had no clue that it was basically the realtors tore the page out of the book, right? Back in the, before the internet, before everything was online, it came out in a book, right?
Well, even before it came out in a book, some associations had what we call tear sheets. And tear sheets were little individual, they were perforated, and you'd separate them out, and you would file those listings every day or twice a week, depending upon what area you're in, what multiple listing service. You would file those yourself and keep them in a little binder. And if somebody were to come in and looking for property, you would thumb through that book to see if you had something that that was appropriate for them. And once a week we used to get the big catalog, or once every 2 weeks, depending upon what association, again, you belong to.
Sure. Tear the sheet out so no one else can
Right.
find that property.
Right.
Put it in your pocket.
Right.
Got a pocket listing.
Right.
Not quite the same
No.
thing as what we have today.
Can I just add
Yeah.
one thing to that? The good thing is today, consumers typically will know about a property even before I do.
Sure.
Because if they've signed up on a site for something coming available in that particular neighborhood, they're going to call me or they're going to text me, and they're not going to call me, they're going to text
Right.
me and let me know that there's a new listing on the street that they're interested in seeing.
That's fascinating. And we've got a couple of really good sites. I'm glad you mentioned that. You go to text 79564. Text the word nest. Easy for me to say, right? Nest to 79564. They send you a text message as soon as a property is listed if it meets your criteria. And then obviously we've got our home digest that we give you for free, slthomedigest.com. Myth number 2, the houses the buyers are touring are still for sale is the myth. Everything is staged for TV. Many of the homes shown are already sold and off the market. So there's another fascinating one. You might see a property when you're out there on TV, and it might be in, I know they've got a desert flippers, I think they call it. And I've watched that one a couple of times, not by choice. And you say, oh, that looks like a nice property. I think I might want to go see that. I'm going to call my local realtor.
And it's gone.
And it's gone, right?
Yeah.
That was a show from 6 months ago.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you have to remember there's lag time in those in the production.
Right, so it's not available right now. So that's another one of the myths. We've still got myths 3, 4, and 5 to go. We're going to chat about more of these with Lynda Eisenmann when we come back. We'll also talk about, should you combine finances after marriage? We'll talk about that. Charged off as bad debt. What do you do about it? All that and more. You can reach me anytime off air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Connect with us, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio, on Twitter @Ron Siegel. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We will be back in just a few.
Siegel Lending Team offers you buying power. Let's say you can afford a monthly mortgage payment, including principal and interest, of around $1,900. With today's rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage of 3.75%, APR 3.85%, that payment could support a $416,000 mortgage. But if you wait and rates tick up to around 6.5%, which is roughly the average home mortgage rate over the past 30 years, that same $1,900 mortgage payment, including principal and interest, may only be able to support a $314,000 mortgage. That's over $100,000 worth of home you're missing out on by waiting. That's buying power. All you need to do to get started is reach out to the Siegel Lending Team at 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Or visit SiegelLendingTeam.com. That's SIEGEL LendingTeam.com. Payment example excludes taxes and insurance. Call us for full details. 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990 or SiegelLendingTeam.com. Equal housing lender. Licensed under NMLS number 217037.
Are you purchasing or own a luxury home? If you're like so many others, your home is your largest asset and the mortgage is your largest debt. The Siegel Lending Team has some amazing financing opportunities right now. Jumbo loans up to $2 million, 30-year rates below 4%, 15-year rates near 3.5%, and if you can believe it, 7-year interest-only hybrids in low 3s. The Siegel Lending Team has all the options for your jumbo or second home loan requirements. Take advantage of them while you can. To learn more about all the other financing products available from the Siegel Lending Team, call 1-800-306-1990. That's 1-800-306-1990. Or visit SiegelLendingTeam.com. That's SIEGEL LendingTeam.com. Again, call 1-800-306-1990. Rates subject to change without notice. Licensed by NMLS ID 217037 and 145502. Equal housing lender.
Homeowners that are 62 and older are about to find out a great way to live a better retirement. It's called a reverse mortgage, and SLT can help you learn more. Call the Siegel Lending Team at 800-306-1990 right now to receive your free booklet with no obligation. It answers questions like how a reverse mortgage works, how much you qualify for, the ways to receive your money, and more. When you call the experts at Siegel Lending Team today, you'll learn the benefits of a government-insured reverse mortgage, how it will eliminate your monthly mortgage payments, and give you tax-free cash from the equity in your home. Here's the best part. You still own your home. Now is the best time to take control of your retirement. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990 to get your free brochure. Call today or visit our website at SiegelLendingTeam.com. That's SIEGEL LendingTeam.com. Or simply call 800-306-1990.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Your Credit Matters segment today being brought to you by CreditSanitizer.com. You have a credit report. It is wrong. What are you doing about it? Credit Sanitizer has the solutions. What does charged off as bad debt mean? Making payments late or missing payments completely spells bad news for your credit rating. When you miss too many payments, your creditor may charge off the debt when your debt is charged off as a bad debt. Don't fool yourself into thinking it goes away. It does not. A charged off debt can lead to harassing phone calls at home, at work, garnished wages, and a major drop in your credit score. Understanding what charged off as bad debt means and the impact it has on your credit report helps you get your credit back on track. What is a charge off? It's basically when the creditor says, you know something, I'm tired of dealing with you, I'm going to write it off of their books. Doesn't mean that you don't owe it still, but they might sell it. They might sell it to a debt collector to get some fractional dollar for it. So you might have a $100 debt, they sell it to a debt collector, 20, 30, 40 cents on the dollar, right? So that $100 debt, the debt collector pays $20 for it. Now they're going to start harassing you. They say, well, I couldn't get what I wanted out of it, so I might find another debt collector, and they're going to start working on it. I'm going to sell it to him for $25. Now that first debt collector just made 25% on their money. But they both leave that debt on your credit reports. Now you've got two collections on your report. Now just be aware this is how the game works. You might have to go back to the bureaus and tell them, hey, this is all based on one, so it'll take the multiple items or multiple occurrences off. It might go back to the old date, so it minimizes the damage to your credit score, but you still owe it. Now, here's the issue, and I'm not a lawyer and I'm not giving you legal advice, but you might ask an attorney if you're in the state of California if the statute of limitations is 4 years. They might tell you that I'm right, but that's the issue, but it's still going to show up there, and you're going to still have to deal with that. If you go to buy a house, you go to buy other large items, they might say, well, you got to take care of it. It's going to stay on your report 7 to 10 years. Just a issue there, so it doesn't go away, it doesn't eliminate it. It just puts it in suspense or hides it from you. That is the Your Credit Matters segment, again brought to you by CreditSanitizer.com. Jeff Sipes, our friend at Blue Water Credit, he is the guy there to talk to about getting some help on your report. We are chatting this morning with Lynda Eisenmann. We're Preferred Home Brokers. We're talking about real estate reality TV myths. We are explaining them. Myth number 3. Now, I don't know how anybody could not understand this or could be fooled by this one on the reality shows. The buyers haven't made a purchase decision yet. Truth, since there's no way to show the entire buying process. Now, Lynda, the buying process probably takes about 30 minutes, right?
Not really. Not really.
Yeah, 30 minutes. But it gets done in a TV show in 30 minutes. TV producers often choose buyers who are further along in the process and may have already chosen a home to buy. So they go and they visit 2 or 3 houses, but they already knew going in which was the right one. So don't believe that one. As Lynda and I shared earlier, that's really I wouldn't say the easy part, but it's not as challenging, in my opinion, the process of going and showing the house. I think that the area that I really want the real estate professional that has experience, I mean, I can walk into any house with anybody, right? And walk through the house, and I don't need them to tell me this is a bathroom. I can probably guess at that and come pretty close to knowing, and I don't want to use the kitchen for the bathroom. Those are things that we can probably figure out. But it's all that place in the contract, right, that I just don't understand.
It really is all about the contract.
Yeah, that, and I was just with a long-time office manager here in North Orange County last week or the week before, something like that. And we were talking about the idea that some brokerages, the agents are turned off by the fact that the broker or the office manager wants them to go through an extended period of education on the contract. That turns them off. They think, well, yeah, I'll just fill in the blanks.
That doesn't make sense to me, why any office manager would have that kind of an attitude.
No, it's not the office manager didn't.
Oh.
It was the agents within the office. They didn't want to attend these courses.
Oh.
And I don't have time to spend 3 hours 4 or 5 times at 4 or 5 weeks in a row with you to learn the contract.
Let me give you an example. At our local association, our Realtor Association, we've had just an outstanding legal counsel for our Association of Realtors. He regularly puts on contract classes, and I will tell you, without exception, I go to almost every single one of them, and I see some of the same very knowledgeable, very seasoned people in the class, basically reviewing the contract again. So it's amazing to me that the newer agents wouldn't understand that contract is the entire foundation. It's the basis of that entire purchase or sale transaction. And you better know that inside and out, frontwards and backwards, if you're the agent.
So I had this, I don't remember whether, I do a lot of radio programs talking to folks about real estate, and I don't remember whether it was you or somebody else that was in here that we were chatting about a real estate contract, and a relatively new agent made the comment, and I think they were representing, the agent was representing the seller, and they made the comment because the contract said one thing and they said, well, that's not what it says in the MLS. Making the assumption that, hey, you would have known that this wasn't part of the deal if you read the MLS as opposed to reading the contract.
Well, that's true. That's true to a degree. For example, if a buyer were to assume that something was going to be included in the sales price, then you would typically go back to see what the listing says, whether or not the seller is going to include it. However, there are times that they're not always the same. Something will be excluded or included in the multiple listing service, but it may or may not be addressed on the contract.
So, if I understand correctly, a chandelier that's in the dining room is generally going to be something that's going to be part of the transaction.
You would assume that, correct.
Okay.
First of all, it's attached.
Right. It's attached to the property, and that's generally the rule of thumb. Now, if it says that it's not included in the multiple listing proposal, and it does not say not included in the contract, which would supersede?
The contract.
The contract.
Yes.
Right? And that's what I thought it was.
Yes,
is that the
contract.
In real estate, the contract drives, right?
That's the basis of the entire transaction. That's the foundation. And if there is going to be something that's reserved, you better spell it out on the contract that it's reserved.
So now, now who writes the contract? Is that written by the buyer or the seller?
Usually, it's written by the buyer's agent.
The buyer's agent.
Correct.
So if the buyer's agent puts nothing about it, does that mean that the seller's agent needs to counter with that commentary?
It should be addressed in a counteroffer, yes.
Okay. So see, and you know something, they don't talk about that on. You have to really dig deep in Google.com to find that, right? And if even the apps that I share for free, right, the Nest app that we have and our SLT Home Digest app, they don't talk about those things. We're showing properties. We're not showing transactions.
That's right.
Right, and that's what you need a great real estate professional for.
That's really the nuts and bolts of a transaction itself, or items like you're addressing right now.
Right, and there could be a million of those.
There can be, and if something is going to be reserved, like I said, as an agent, if I'm representing a buyer on a purchase, and if there is something in there that is in the listing agreement itself, or the multiple listing service that specifically addresses a reservation, I'm going to also address that reservation on the purchase contract.
And see, there's the issue of having somebody that is seasoned, and that's why I'm not a fan of the current process of licensing in real estate. I think you need to have mentors, right? Because you need somebody like you who's sharing, hey, you know something, the MLS says this, and that's not normal. So we need to put that into the purchase agreement.
Right, there's a spot for other terms and provisions, and that's where you'd spell it out.
And again, that's only comes from somebody who knows the contract. right?
Yes.
Right? I mean,
much.
if you don't know the
Yeah,
contract,
pretty
I mean, it's fascinating to me how many times I hear people that, I don't know the contract, right? That's not what I do. I know to look for 4 or 5 different issues in the contract which are important to lending. But if I said, something, you can check box J4 on page 2 of the contract. As a lender, I know that that's the loan contingency box.
Right.
Right? A lot of people don't have any clue of that. And if I was a real estate professional until I understood, what's paragraph 7. Okay, that's my job, right? I mean, you may not remember every detail of it, but you know the gist of it.
I've had agents at times say, well, my seller has to do this or doesn't have to do that. And I'll say, well, show me where in the contract it says that. Show me where in the contract it says that your seller is going to comply or not comply.
I just had that with a friend over the weekend, and again, I'm not the real estate professional, but they said that the inspector came back and they're expecting to do a lot of extra negotiations from the home inspection. I said, that's just a list. That's just a negotiations ploy. You don't have to give in to any of it as the seller.
That's correct.
Right? I mean, even though you've signed the contract, you don't have to give in to what they request. That's why it's called a request
for repair. That's correct.
Right? You can say no, and then it becomes an issue of, are you going to cancel the contract and move forward? Right?
It can happen, and it does occasionally.
We've got a couple more myths that we're going to talk about. How about always selling the house? I like the idea of always selling. You can almost tell it's a myth whenever you have the word always in there. And a 5-minute conversation to sell a house. I want to hear about that one as well. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number again, 800-306-1990. 800-306-1990 or ronsiegelradio.com. We're going to also chat, should you combine finances after marriage? That's a fascinating one. Reach me anytime again, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio, Twitter @Ron Siegel, although I don't look at it very often. But we'll be back in just a few.
Are you living in the home of your dreams or simply where you think you can afford? Are you earning a safe, secure 10+% return on your investments? Is your credit score over 800? If the answer to any of these questions is no, what are you doing about it? Text ATP to 79564. Complete a 3-minute complimentary survey and the area trusted professionals of Ron Siegel Radio will reach out to you to develop a success strategy for you. Again, all you need to do is text ATP to 79564.
Most businesses struggle to get the online reviews they need to get a competitive edge over their competition. Rex is a brand new technology that uses text messages to direct happy clients to your online review sites, Zillow, Google, Facebook, and Yelp, and unhappy clients to a private survey, so businesses can win more customers. Try Rex today by going to www.meetrex.com.
Are you currently renting a home? Do you like paying someone else's mortgage payment? Why not explore the options to purchase your own home? Can you imagine a 30-year fixed-rate loan below 4.25% APR? This means with $10,500, you can purchase a $295,000 home and have a principal and interest payment of about $1,400 per month. What are you paying in rent? Does your family deserve the opportunity to take advantage of the current market? To learn more about these exciting opportunities, the Siegel Lending Team is standing by to speak with you. Call now, 1-800-306-1990. That's 1-800-306-1990. Or visit SiegelLendingTeam.com. That's SIEGEL LendingTeam.com. Or 1-800-306-1990. Rates subject to change without notice. Licensed by NMLS ID 217037 and 145502. Equal housing lender. Not endorsed or sponsored by any government agency.
Do you have a goal of mortgage-free home ownership? What if your home was valued at $500,000? Are you aware that a free and clear home could be costing you $2,500 every month, $30,000 per year? The mortgage planners at the Siegel Lending Team would like to show you how you can own your home, generate tax-free income, and accumulate family wealth. You simply need to call the Ron Siegel Team at 1-800-306-1990. That is 1-800-306-1990. By sending the team a copy of your most recent mortgage statement, the team will send you a no-obligation real estate plan. You be the judge if this is right for your family. Again, all you have to do is send the team a copy of your mortgage statement by email to reap@ronsiegelradio.com or call today. Ron Siegel, 1-800-306-1990. That is 1-800-306-1990.
Subject to change and without notice. Licensed by the California DOC and BRENMLS 217037 and 145502 and Cal BRE 0186945 and 1866775.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Word on Wealth segment today being brought to you by the area trusted real estate professionals of Ron Siegel Radio. Text NEST, N-E-S-T, to 79564. Find your dream home before someone else does. Should you combine finances after marriage? That is the topic. Combining your finances as a couple, especially after you get married, comes with pros and cons. Whether you decide to keep your money his and hers or make all finances ours depends on a variety of factors. Your income, debt, credit situations, individual and joint goals, and your own habits can all be reasons you decide to combine finances or not. Decades ago, it might have been the traditional choice to combine money matters, but couples today are creating their own financial paths with no one way being the right way, according to a survey by Policy Genius. Gotta love that name. Around 20% of the people keep all their money management separate from their partners. 30% of couples say they don't know the details of their partner's earnings. Around 3/4 of the couples share all their financial accounts, not even holding a single credit card or checking account separate. I find that one pretty fascinating. I mean, I can only tell you my experience, and it's only lasted for about 32 years, 32, I guess I better remember that, about 32 years, right? It's all for one and one for all, right? I think that's part of the idea, but I guess maybe I am old school, just throwing that out there. I got a whole report on it. If you want more of the pros and cons, just give me a call, 800-306-1990. I can send you a copy of that report. That is the Word on Wealth segment. Again, brought to you by the area trusted real estate professionals of Ron Siegel Radio. Text NEST, N-E-S-T, to 79564. Find your dream home before someone else does. We are chatting this morning with Lynda Eisenmann. We are talking about myths of the, what's the title here? Real estate reality TV myths. And we're explaining them. And it's always fun when I have someone like Lynda that comes onto the broadcast, because we really don't have to prepare a whole heck of a lot. We just look at a couple of headlines and go down rabbit trails, and I think we share some pretty compelling information for you and things that many of you are not thinking about. Maybe many of you might be fooled by when you're thinking about, especially when it comes to these reality shows. They call it reality shows. And I think that is myth number 6. There is nothing real about them. Right? I mean, if it was a reality show, here's myth number 4, Lynda.
Okay.
You'll love this one.
All right.
If you list your home for sale, it will always sell at the open house. Wouldn't that be nice?
It would. It'd make it real easy, wouldn't it?
Right?
Yeah.
You just go and put up a sign saying open house and you're done. Does not work that way. I don't know what the numbers are now. It used to be, and again, like I say, I should have looked this one up, but it used to be that it was only like 1 or 2% of the houses sold at an open house. Probably higher now, because I do see some people that are pricing aggressively to try and get a bidding war going.
I would think it would be higher than that number that you quoted.
Yeah, had you heard that one before?
I haven't heard that number, but I'm one that probably uses more open houses than the typical agent, and the reason for that is and I tell my sellers ahead of time. Now, at the end of the open house, when you come back today, we're not necessarily expecting to have an offer. However, we could have an offer a week from now, or we could have an offer tomorrow or 2 days from now that came to fruition as a result of the people seeing it, the buyers seeing it at the open house.
And it could be
first time.
And it could be that person, or it could be mom and dad that then bring back their kids or grandkids.
Yes.
Right? Or a friend, you want to pick your neighbor?
You know, that's true. And actually, that happens a lot. And the other thing that very often happens is I have buyers that I'm working with at times, and I know they're out viewing open houses that day. I may be at an open house myself, and if there's a particular property I know that they're going to be coming by, I'll call that agent ahead of time and I'll let them know that I have some buyers that are likely to come by today. I just want to let you know this is their names, and they're serious about looking, and they found your home online, so they want to come and take a look at it.
And see, that's the professional way of dealing with it, right? It's not like going in there, and I just had this the other day, and I want to throw this out at you, Lynda, because I'm not a real estate agent, and I don't try and sell property. I don't even do it online or on a reality show, right? But I had somebody that said they went into an open house, and the agent greeted them. And, are you working with an agent? Yes. Can you tell me what the HOA is on this? Very curtly, they said, well, you have to ask your agent about that.
Oh gosh, that's a mistake. That's an absolute mistake on the part of the listing agent. Why?
Is it? I mean, I heard that and I said, well, let me ask you this. And this is just coming from a consumer advocate and a guy out there that's been in real estate for a long time. I said, let me ask you this. If that's the way that agent is treating you as a prospect, how do you think that agent is going to treat you if you're on the other side of a negotiation?
I totally agree with you. And that agent is doing a disservice to his or her seller also. You have to think about that. It's a matter of providing information.
Sure.
And if I can get the information from the listing agent, that's fine. But if I have the information, obviously it's something I'm going to pass along to. If I have a buyer out looking, and by the way, if I have buyers who are out looking on a weekend and I may be doing something, I might be in another open house myself, but if I know they're going to be looking at an area, or if I have an idea of what homes they're going to be viewing, I'll call that listing agent ahead of time and let them know that I have buyers who are probably going to come through their open house today.
Now, you've said a couple of things there, and this is something, and I know we get a lot of real estate professionals that listen to the broadcast, and there's a couple of things that you've mentioned in passing, and I want to highlight them. You mentioned that you go and preview the properties yourself.
If I can, yes.
You mentioned that you're at the board association getting extra training.
Correct.
Which is, there's a byproduct of that. So, and you mentioned as far as calling these agents, if somebody else is out there shopping, if one of your clients are out shopping.
Yes.
Now, all of that is great, but it also comes with a foundation that we should talk about also for agents, is you've developed relationships over the years with a lot of these other listing agents.
Correct.
Right? So by going to open houses, by going to broker previews, by going to caravan meetings, by going to the association events, you end up getting to know over time and developing a relationship over time with the other agents. Right? So when you call them,
correct,
it's not like John Smith calling and saying, hey, I got a client coming by. You're calling and talking to somebody you've got a relationship with.
Yes.
Right? So they're looking out to try and be helpful because, you guys are reciprocating.
That's right. And, I love it when I get a call or I get a text from somebody who says, Lynda, I have some buyers that are interested in your property, and it's somebody that I've worked with before, that I know, I value their working relationship, and I trust them.
And if you're the buyer or the seller, when you're working with someone like Lynda, what that brings is a little extra value that no one ever talks about, is the relationship value. Right? You can't quantify relationship value.
I think that's very true. And it's even more important when you're in a multiple offer situation. Right. If you're in a multiple offer situation and let's say the offers are almost identical and they're equal in a lot of ways. And by the way, it's not just the price. You have to look at all the terms, all the aspects of the offer itself. Because there are times I've had sellers who've accepted an offer and it may not necessarily be the highest offer, but there were other compelling reasons that was the offer they wanted to accept.
Might have fit their time frame.
That's correct. That's one thing. Yes.
Might have been an agent that you knew was going to get to the finish line.
That's right. That's a good way to put it. Make it to the finish line with very few obstacles, very few problems.
Right. Fascinating things, and those are some of the intangibles. Myth number 5. Homeowners decide to sell their homes after a 5-minute conversation. Truth is, similar to buyers portrayed on the TV shows, many of the sellers have already spent hours deliberating the decision to list their homes and move on with their lives and goals. Bottom line of all of these, having an experienced professional on your side while navigating the real estate market is the best way to guarantee you can make the home of your dreams a true reality. 5-minute conversation.
Doesn't happen that way. Typically, I've had sellers who are thinking about it for 6 months.
Sure.
I've talked to them off and on over a period of time, 3 to 6 months. That's not uncommon.
I think the only time you're really going to see that 5-minute decision is when there's an extenuating circumstance, right?
A transfer.
Court order, a transfer, a divorce, something along those lines where there's some other issue going on that's forcing that to be, to make a decision, right? Does that?
You mentioned a divorce. That can it can be a very fast sale or a very long-term venture. So
trying project.
Yes, very much so.
I've seen some of those in both instances.
They go both ways.
And again, and a lot of times those transactions are driven mostly by a referral from the professional.
A lot of times, that's
CPA,
correct.
attorney, somebody along those lines, especially when you're dealing with I guess it's both, when you're dealing with divorce or estate.
They both have emotion involved, yes, that's correct. But it's interesting when you're working with a divorced sale, usually the seller who is in possession, the one who's still living in the property, in possession of the property, usually has more influence, usually has a little more control.
Interesting. Great information as always, and as always, I do ask you, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A very big thanks to John, who's engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We will talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.
Lights go out and I can't be